What's up everyone and welcome back to the Commander MTG YouTube channel. I'm your host Jason Com, and today we're talking about ending games. As a new player, I often struggled with being able to close out games, whether it be not having enough damage, too many blockers on board, or being unable to win outside of combat. And today I'm going to address all of these issues with my 5 favorite cards to end games, all for under $10. Let's get into it. We're going to start off this list with a card your opponents will never see coming. Winds of Abandon is a 2-mana sorcery that exiles target creature you don't control. For each creature exiled this way, its controller searches their library for a basic land card and puts them into play tapped. However, it also has the Overload ability for 6 mana that will exile each creature you don't control instead. How many times in your Boros deck have you been unable to get damage through because of too many blockers on board, or simply all the blocks are bad for you? Winds of Abandon is perfect for any deck, any creature deck really, that likes to go wide or lacks evasion, and for only $2 is an awesome budget finisher. Next up is Overwhelming Stampede, a 5-mana sorcery that grants your creatures trample and +X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. This card has won me so many games, it's stupid. It's basically a budget version of Craterhoof Behemoth, which is a $45 card. And for only $2.37, you can turn your little 1/1 utility creatures into massive threats to your opponent's life totals. I often get a few creatures to be 10/10s and even as high as 30/30s. This card can get completely out of control. Granting trample to all these creatures is just the cherry on top of your newly won game. Overwhelming Stampede is amazing in token decks like Girid, Conclave Exile, or decks that play big creatures like Selvala, and is sure to close out games for you. Next up is a pet card of mine, Archetype of Imagination, a 6-mana enchantment creature, human wizard, that grants your creatures flying while also causing your opponent's creatures to lose flying. Basically, this gives all your creatures unblockable, which is a ton of fun to play with. And for only 77 cents, it's an extremely budget-friendly way to pull a rabbit out of your hat and beat your friends to death with it. Archetype of Imagination is great in any creature deck, especially Animar, or even enchantment decks like Tuvasa, and steal a victory away from your foes that won't see it coming. Next up is the hottest card on this list, Jayasimmolating Inferno. For X and 2 red, this legendary sorcery deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets with the small requirement of a legendary creature or planeswalker under your control. The thing I love about this card is that you can target creatures or players. I use this card all the time in my Vile Smasher Thrasios deck, where I consistently have tons of mana available. I've paid as much as 15 mana into the X, dealing 45 damage to the table. For a whopping 23 cents, Jayasimmolating Inferno is great in decks like Vile Smasher or Nehead the Eternal, and if you're playing a Spellslinger deck or a big mana deck, this card is a ton of fun to play with, and is a great way to finish the game outside of combat. Lastly is my favorite card on this list, Throne of the God Pharaoh. This 2-mana artifact reads, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. I can't believe you can get an effect like this for only 2 mana. This card is just bonkers crazy and going to do serious damage as the game starts or close it out later on. I've seen games where someone was able to make 20 tokens in one turn, swing immediately at one opponent with no blockers, and at the end step deal 20 more damage to that poor soul, and 40 damage to the rest of the table, killing that sorry loser, and dropping the other opponent's jaws to the floor. That was me. For only $2.60, this card is a must-have in any token deck that likes to swing, or any deck really that consistently has 4 or more tapped creatures on board every turn. I use it in my Locust God deck, but it would also be an all-star in Krenko or Kamina if you need help sending your friends home. That's it guys, my top 5 cards to end games, all for under $10. When you're new to Magic and it's hard to end games, you don't need to spend $45 on a Craterhoof Behemoth. All you need are some way cheaper, super fun ways to kill your friends that they won't see coming. If you enjoyed this list, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. I love doing this type of video, so let me know in the comments what your favorite cards are to end games, because I'm always looking for more ways to kill my friends. Thanks everybody, we'll see you in the next one.